Here we go. We are back for the last one of the Habs Locker Room Report in 2023. We are back with the co-host Marko directly from Hawkesbury and from Toronto downtown. Mr. Enortap, welcome back in the house.
Happy holidays, guys. Happy
Happy
holidays.
holidays.
Happy holidays,
As we
everybody.
come to
Thanks,
the end
everybody.
of
Hopefully, you have an amazing,
2023.
great, Christmas for both with your family. Everything like that. Stop right there, Mr. Marco. Michel Larabie is in the house.
Oh yeah, hey, my brother's joined us today. Hey, Mike, how's it going? Mike
There
was
we go.
over at my house. He was over at my house for Christmas. It was a lot of fun. Good to see him.
Awesome. Coming from where?
Excellent.
He lives in Hawkesbury too. He lives just a couple minutes from where I live.
So he take what,
excellent.
Uber to go your place or what?
No Uber in Hawkesbury, Coach. We're not 21st century yet.
No?
No, we need that. What's the cart that you guys have in
boat.
Taiwan? Like
Here, it's
what?
called the boat. I
that was-
took the boat yesterday on the motorbike in Bangkok. That's a pretty interesting ride.
Sure.
And Pattaya, I think it's really pretty wild, but in Bangkok, it's double wild. Interesting to see that. I took a
what's the
video
little
about
train
this. It was pretty good.
What's the little train thing that you guys have in Taiwan though? The little train.
The- Starts
Oh, yeah,
with a
yes.
T,
I'm sorry again?
isn't it? It starts with a
Starts
T,
with a
right?
T.
Yeah,
Two-
the other
two or
tuk-tuk,
something.
and I took the motorbike. It's
Tuk-tuk.
cheap, like 60 cent to go to 4 or 5 mile around Bangkok. But they know the size of the motorbike. They can go between 2 cars with no problem, and they don't really care about that. And they hit some things, not big deal. We can turn around left and we go back right. We can move on.
We lost the
That's
guy.
really
Don't worry about it.
That's what we need in Hawkesbury. Is we need a tuk-tuk for Hawkesbury. I think that's
Excellent. So Michael continued to create some great comments about you, Marco. So thanks, Michel, to be with us tonight. First of all, we're going to welcome everybody in the chat. We have a few people. Vinny James 007, another from Ottawa, so neighbor of Marco, is in the house tonight. And then Claude Richard from Ottawa. Everybody's coming from Ottawa tonight. Claude Richard, welcome back. Thanks to be with our Canadian show. And I believe I miss Gary Cornoyer. He's in the house directly from Montreal.
brother.
Welcome back, Gary, and thanks to be with us. And Happy New Year for everybody. Patrick Leblanc, here we go. Patrick is in the house. Lot action and between Ottawa and Toronto right now. 14th game in NHL. We have a fight between Lagasson and Kelly, I believe, or Raleigh Greg. And that's what we got right there between both players. Lagasson fight with only one glove. That's funny about that
That's all
one.
he needs.
it's the holidays. It's
He
the
held
holidays.
one
You're-
glove and then he hit with the right hands. And he said, I'm not going to remove my both hand, my both glove. And then he Riley Craig is like he gave about 5-6 inches. Like some guys, I don't know. It's a weird fight between both players. Anyhow, Patrick Leblanc is the house. Larry Lavallée from Arizona knocked the door. Our friend Larry Lavallée,
Larry.
thanks to be with our Canadian Live show. Hopefully you're doing well. Here we go.
Larry.
The train's coming back. Well, be careful, guys. The train's coming again. It's funny. I test before the show, and when we hit the game, the show is coming that way. So we're going to get that way over there. Looking
we go.
better here. Everybody is going to be fine. Nice crap from Michelle. Here we go, everybody. Thanks, everybody, to be with us tonight. You're welcome to be, first of all, thanks to be with us. And then secondly, tonight, it's mixed between the review of the year and the beginning of the year. So we're going to go that direction because it'll be the last time we're going to see each other before the beginning of 2024. So what we'll do tonight, guys, we'll talk about the Montreal Canadiens New Year and 2024 wish for the team, not only for the season, but for 2024 all the way to the between January and December. And finally, at the end, if you follow my other channel, guys, Frenchy and Hélène, yes, I walk downtown at the walking streets on Christmas in Pattaya. I make a video about this. Very interesting Christmas.
Oh, sure.
And then
Looks
I can
very-
wait. I return there. I return there for the Happy New Year. It's double size about the celebration of that night, so I can wait to be there and it will be interesting to create some kind of video during that celebration in Thailand. That's happening for me during the next couple of days. And then I create a new show called the quiz option. New channel is going to be start couple very soon. When I said very soon, I don't know yet the next 2 days or 2024. The quiz option. So follow this new channel. That's what we got tonight, everybody. Thanks to be with us. William McClary is in the house. William was with me all night long. William watched the Team Canada. I did a game. Marko stopped by the way. At some point, a lot of people. RG Calabro is in the house. He was with us during the night. And then Larry Lavallée. I don't know if Larry showed up yesterday. But A2 was with us, a couple of people, about 25 people follow. Ottawa score, guys, a goal behind the goal line. So after a deficit of 2 goals, now they take the lead by 1 goal. This is a rivalry between Toronto and Ottawa, right? It's a huge rivalry now.
It
Absolutely.
is. Yeah, they were talking about that during the intermission. They're like, "Oh, it's too bad that Ottawa and Toronto haven't met in the playoffs." I'm like, Toronto media, did you forget that Toronto played Montreal in the playoffs less than 2 years ago, and that was a pretty good rivalry. Maybe there's a reason why they don't remember that so fondly. I don't know. Just
but I didn't want to get that way to not hurt anybody, but we can do it. Right now, Luciano is not here. So, yes, I remember that game, that series. Completely destroyed the Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 games. They gave 3 goals, 3 games for Toronto to keep this series a bit more tight. But at the end, it was a really good one for that one there. Mr. Enortap, question about you. What kind of tourtière in French? Pie, and I don't know what is tourtière in English.
Meat pie.
There we go. So what happening with your Islanders, Mr. Enortap? 6-0 for the Pittsburgh Penguins. My wheelchair team are winning right now, Mr. Enortap. 6-0 against the New York Islanders.
Yeah, I think the Islanders celebrated Christmas a little bit too hard.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you about that. Anyway, well, Luc Fortin knocked the door, Mr. Enortap. He's with us tonight, and RJ Calabro is in the house. So we're going to go straight what we do at the beginning of the show, guys. First of all, I was supposed to put this right here. We're going to talk about Habs New Year wish happen in the next couple of minutes. But before that, at the beginning of the show, we're going to start with Mr. Enortap tonight. What we're going to talk about?
Headlines.
Headlines. Here we go. He got it again. He nailed hammer again. And Mr. Marko, we're going to leave Mr. Enortap the first tonight. So let's see about this. Usually Marko start always because I try to figure out his headlines.
Yeah, so I thought looking forward, we want to all wish everybody a happy New Year for next year.
There you go.
And more so the Montreal Canadiens, of course. Hopefully they'll be filled with a lot of progress in their development. I'm looking forward to things like how they're going to handle certain situations. I don't want to dwell too much into it now because I think it'll sort of leak into the 5 wishes that we made for later on tonight. But suffice to say, we want to capitalize on things like the trade deadline time. We want to capitalize on the development aspect. We want to capitalize on the UFA in the summer. It's going to happen. Possibly any trades that will occur in that interval time as well. And here's hoping that they have a healthier season too, because at the end of it all, that's at the core of everything. If you don't have your players there and in the right positions, it's difficult to sort of progress in the fashion that you had envisioned. So I wanted to keep it very short and light tonight, and just say Happy New Year to everybody, and especially the Montreal Canadiens.
Awesome. Glad to hear to sharing this with everybody. And then we have a few people. Roy just pop up here with Gary. Of course, Gary is with us. And we have Mr. Marko now is going to give us some he's a little bit worried about the picture I'm going to put here, but I think it reflects, Mr. Marko, what you tried to accomplish tonight.
Yeah. So my headline, coach, I wanted to do a little homage. This is great, by the way. You nailed it. That's exactly what I was thinking. But I'm a little flustered because it's a lot of muscles there in the water. But I thought I'd do a little shout out, a little headline in French pour nos fans en français. So mon headline pour cette semaine, pas de gugun. What that means in the English, guys, is no flip flops. Like instead of bringing your flip flops on this trip, guys, we want you to bring your work boots. So as we know, the Habs are going through. They're doing the second leg of their road trip, and they're going into sunny Florida, into Carolina. So as we know, there's probably a lot of temptation, especially coming off Christmas. We saw what happened with the Islanders, all the tryptophan from the turkey. They're a little hungover from Christmas. And then you add on top of that, now you're in Florida. It's really hard to maybe get into a hockey frame of mind. So they need to bring their work boots, guys, not their flip-flops on this trip, because it's going to be a really hard trip. 3 really hard games coming up here against Carolina, Tampa, and then Florida. And I guess one thing that we could talk about, guys, I know that we've been very realistic here from the beginning of the season, everything about the P word, right? But what happens if they win the next 3 games against Florida, Carolina, and Tampa?
They passed it, Roy.
Yeah. So, if they get on a bit of a run here, it's going to be interesting. Anyways, for those who really still believe that Montreal has a chance of making the playoffs, looking at it, just realistically, this is a really critical stretch of games. My headline, I think, from a couple weeks ago, the last show, was best of 7, right? So the objective should have been for Montreal to win 4 out of the 7 road games. So right now, I believe technically we're 2-1 because they won 2 games and they lost 1 in overtime. So they're 2-1. They're ahead, against their opponent, 2-1 in a best of 7. So they got to find a way to win 2 out of 3 here moving forward. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Coach, I know you wear your good guns probably all the time based on where you live, and I'm assuming that you're just as attractive with your tarp off than Josh Anderson as well too.
Yeah, exactly about that. It's reflected a bit what I said for me. If you want to move on to my headline, if it's all good for everybody, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So my headline, guys, is a little bit what Marko said, but back to work. And when I said back to work is because, yes, 3-0-2 the last 5 game. Oh, my God, you almost scored Toronto. The puck was in the crease. Back to work because I think they cannot sit down and they said, oh, was pretty good. We're looking good here. I think they have to come back right away and start everything at 0. Whatever happened before that, and then attack that new trip. We know that trip is not easy one anymore like it was a couple of years ago. Florida beat Montreal 4 times last season, and then it's not easy against Tampa Bay Lightning, the Carolina Hurricane, whatsoever. That Carolina don't play the level they should play, and then Tampa Bay does not play the level since the beginning of the season whatsoever. They have 7-1-2, I believe, the last 10 games, and right now losing 3-2, I believe, against the Panthers at that moment. So this is a time where, like Marko said, not about the playoff, but make another statement on their season so far, because I think they make some statement in NHL. I think they play better, a little bit like Arizona. Both teams play better, or the Flyers play better what the expectation was at the beginning of the season. And I think the fans enjoy that right now. They enjoy the month of December. And can we finish strong the month of December? Hopefully they can get a couple of wins at the end. But honestly, for me, back to work is to have right away there and not to be, flying on the eyes the next game. So, oh, we're looking good now. We can take some kind of lack of the effort or whatever it is. It just feel like it was going to be fine. I think they have to go back strong and then show again to Martin St. Louis the reason why they become that kind of team now with the forward checking. I think that's the one reason they are. And the first line, I think the last game, Caulfield, Sarkowski, Caulfield, Sarkowski, and Suzuki, definitely did a very good job. And they need that line. And what is impressive, guy, we don't talk too much, is 22 points in December for the first line. And the second line, I consider Monahan, Evans, and Anderson, 21 points. So, we have to give credit for the second line to contribute at this offensive. And then David Savard is the most point in December with 5 points, 3 goals, 2 assists since he's returning December 10th. So, there's a fun team to watch right now. And hopefully, at least they compete. That's what I wanted them to do, back to work and compete hard right away at the beginning of the first game against the Carolina Hurricanes. So, I don't know if you want to add something in Enortap about that.
Yeah, it's you're right. They have to get out of the gate quick. It's always, in some ways, it's good that they're on the road because usually the home team after a long break tends to have the worst legs for whatever reason, and they're still with family and whatever. So it's difficult to get back into the groove. So hopefully they, as Marko was alluding to, they haven't enjoyed themselves overly much on this trip, that they're not going to be ready. But you can bet on the fact that Martin St. Louis won't let that happen.
And one last thing, Coach, before we move on to is, I think, one of the most exciting things I think that we all noticed over the last couple of games is Suzuki kind of elevating his game and taking the team on his back a little bit, right? So I view this as another test of his leadership as well, too, right? Is he able to keep like, it's not, yes, St. Louis, can try to do that, but really it's kind of up to the players, the locker room itself to kind of elevate its standard and make sure that they're ready to play. I never really believe in the whole thing that it's the coach's responsibility for the team to come out ready. The coaching staff's responsibility is to give them all the resources and the plans and the strategic approach to the game. But being ready for the game, being ready to go when the puck drops, that's all up to the players. And
Yeah.
so to me, I want to see Suzuki, start exactly where he left off with the same intensity, with the same drive in his game. And sometimes what you see with young teams, Coach, is these players start reading their own headlines and they start believing how good they are and everything else, right? So that's my one little concern is, these guys are going online and people are starting to buzz a little bit about how well they're playing. So they just need to remember that how did they get success over the last 5 games, right? It's not just because they're a super skilled hockey team, and it's because of how they worked. So exactly, I 100% agree. Back to work, and really hoping that the captain can lead the team here and show the right example.
Great point about that. We'll see what happening for them when they're going to play against the Carolina Hurricane tomorrow night. Of course, they play in North Carolina, and then following probably the Fleur Panthers, by the way. So that's what gave us, guys, all the headlines we got tonight on that show. A little bit more the next thing we'll talk about before we go to the New Year, wish we got for each one of you guys. I would like to take a little bit more review a bit the month of December for Montreal Canadiens. They have right now 3-0-2 and 5 games. But I would like to give us a bit more the stood out of the players or maybe something specific in the month of December. I think in December they are 5-2-3. And if I can recall it properly, if not, they are similar that way. And I would like to hear from each one of you. What do you think? What makes it fun and the first line and the first as the players or any other staff or system happening in the month of December? So I would like to hear the chat also participate in the conversation. What make you really special for Montreal so far in December?
Well, traditionally, Montreal usually has poor starts to December, and you start to see their record slide. So, I mean, the fact that this year they've been much more consistent in their play I like the fact personally that their effort, their compete level has always been there, whether they're trailing by a couple goals or they're up by a couple goals, and that's part of their learning process as well. But I guess what stood out for me the most in this period has been the most obvious, which would be the first line there of Suzuki, Caulfield, and Slavkovsky, and especially the the level that Slavkovsky has brought his game to. He's still got a long way to go, of course, but it's good to see him making positive strides. And I would also add to that the emergence of the defensive core as well. Like when you look at the overall NHL, and Montreal now has, I believe, they're second in the league in offensive scoring from defensemen. I mean, that's a big to do, and it's showing that the talent is there, especially from an offensive perspective. The turnovers, I mean, they're getting much better at that, but a lot of it will have to do with settling in with the right partners when the time comes, and I think that will sort of solve itself as we move forward. But not easy for defensemen to get points, especially goals, and we've been seeing that. So that's a definite positive in my eyes.
Yeah, coach, like I think we've covered a lot of these. Like there's no question Montreal has performed, I would say, way above expectations in December. I think I know for my projections week to week, I think I had 1 week correct in my predictions, but overall they've been kind of over exceeding my expectations week to week. And I think William points out here that they're 5 points ahead of the pace from last year. And one thing to consider is that most of the injuries last year that happened, like losing Doc and losing a lot of the players that they did, started happening around this time. So the injuries actually happened earlier in the year. So if you think about the fact that they're actually ahead of their point production over last year, and they've already had the injuries, then where would they be without those injuries? We'll never know, right? But it's an interesting question. So overall, these are the themes that we've been talking about over the last couple of shows. The things that stand out to me is very encouraging is things that we wanted to see at the beginning of the season, guys. We wanted to see, is Martin Saint-Louis going to be able to really help the team improve week over week, identify areas where the team would be able to improve their overall team play. And he's been very transparent with us in the press conferences about certain elements that he wanted the team to work on. And then as a fan, you're seeing him say, hey, I think we really need to work on our forecheck. And then boom, the next game, you immediately see the tactics and the strategies that he's been working on when they practice in game. And you're seeing them be effective in game. To me, that's the most promising thing, right? Is you're not only seeing the emergence of players like Slavkovsky and the emergence of Caulfield, Slavkovsky, and Suzuki together. You're seeing the emergency of Martin Saint-Louis really kind of putting a stamp on this team and the overall team buying in. So to me, that's the most positive thing in December. I think, Coach, you had as one of your headlines a couple of weeks ago, chasing consistency, right? And Martin Saint-Louis talks about that all the time. So I think that's where we're at now is really, we know what the standard is. We know, kind of what they're able to do. I think they can compete against any team in the league when they play together as a team. Any team can, to be honest. Like any team that's a sum of its parts is stronger than an individual part, right? And so that's why hockey is a team sport. So I really like what I'm seeing there. Team is really buying in. Last thing I'll say, is you can really see the impact of Denis Savard, not Denis Savard. That would be kind of neat if it was Denis Savard, but having Savard back in the lineup, really has had a pretty strong impact. We've been having this debate over the last couple of weeks about whether to trade or keep, David Savard, and I think the more the things time goes on, the more that he makes a pretty strong case that I'm not sure it's a great idea to move him unless it's just really an offer that just blows your socks off and it's an asset that you just can't pass up. But so that's my kind of impact here. Other than everything that Enortap mentioned, the impact of David Savard, and just really seeing the team buy in, and really starting to see the fruits of them buying into the things that Martin Saint-Louis has been teaching them.
Well said about both of you
Mark,
about this. Go ahead, Enortap.
I was just going to add, Marco, do you believe? I mean, it's obvious that Hughes is going to have to do something. I mean, this goaltending situation has lingered for the entire year, and now that we've seen the emergence of Struble as he's come up to the team, it's going to be hard to send him back down. In my eyes, I think he's been very, very consistent, and of course, they're they're still sticking to the party line that Jack I will be back up at some point. So it's going to create quite a glut at the defensive spot. So do the both of you see a possible packaging for a good trade coming up at the trade deadline, if not earlier?
Yeah, maybe, like, it's you can never really fully predict these things, but I think if there's one thing that Ken Hughes has shown us, is that he can be extremely patient. He doesn't do anything out of position of weakness, right? So he's been very patient with the goaltending situation. He's been rewarded with that. Like, again, Montreal is one of the rare case studies where a three goalie system actually seems to be working pretty well for all three guys. Maybe Allen's the one that struggled with it the most, but overall, it's hard to argue with like the goaltending. Like we talked about, that's probably the MVP of the season so far for Montreal, is the goaltending. I wouldn't even say just one of them, like just goaltending in general has
In
been kind
general,
of what's
yeah.
Montreal, ahead. So there's no question, right? Like, I think in the short term, Kent Hughes has options. Like when Harris comes back, he can waive, and not really. He's not going to be forced to do anything. Jack Eye is already in Laval. There's no rush to bring him up. I think he's very much still in the long term plans of the team. Let's not get into a Jack Eye debate, because then we'll end up spending half the show. But I think everybody agrees that Jack Eye is in the long-term plans of the Montreal Canadiens. I think that's clear. He's a very unique asset, and they want to find a way. My opinion on it, I would convert him to forward, but let's not go into that. In terms of defensemen, that you'll see in my wish list. That's, I don't want to tease too much things out of my wish list, but in the short term, Enortap, to answer your questions, Kent Hughes has options, right? Like, Harris is going to come back off IR. It's not really something they can control. Like, when he's ready to play, he's ready to play. And then when they do that, he just so everybody knows, Harris is waiver eligible, right? So it means,
Yeah.
like, he's not like he's not exempt from waivers, right? So if Montreal's not able to send him to Laval without exposing him to waivers, so he's not going to Laval. I don't think. I would be surprised if that was the case. But Lidstrom is somebody that they're probably pretty confident that would pass waivers. He has already this season, and I
And
think out of all the assets, like, if they were to lose him, he'd be the one they'd be the least upset to lose.
yeah, I think it's an interesting dilemma for the team, and they're going to have to obviously do something to address it, because there's no way to skirt the issue here. What do you think, Coach?
The word is patient with them. I think they have no rush to trade anyone right now. They don't have to. If they don't get anything in return. That's been this since the beginning. Can you always find to make a good trade? Usually, I think he hit 90% of all the trade he did because he used the word patient. Montreal are fine with three goaltender right now. They don't need Jacky at all at that moment of the season where they at. They don't have to call anybody. They can drop down Nollander or Lindstrom to bring Harris up. So they have some kind of, some kind of move they can do without to make any trade at that moment. Secondly, I don't see, I don't know when RHP returning. I don't know when is, returning. Then you can send down Edelman after that. So all together, he's not push to make a trade at this moment. I still believe one of the three teams that I talk about this during the show during the game, Team Canada. I did an overview of the big picture. I think New Jersey, the Kings, are two teams are with the problem with the goalies. When I said that, the injuries, we don't know how long they'll be there. And Carolina is maybe the third one over there. One of those
Toronto too.
teams all in the Toronto is on one. They are the middle of the playoff or on the race of the playoff, but they're not going to make it, or maybe to make it, right? And they're going to do something early in Enortap. I don't think so. They will wait at the trade deadline. The season
I
number
agree.
2 or the 4th season and the 1 season in NHL start tonight. So I think you're going to see some move. I don't want to be surprised the first 2 weeks in January, what we don't expect too much to get a goalie left and right. Again, the only way they trade one of the 3 goalie they have is they get something in return. But I don't expect a big trade for the Montreal Canadiens at the trade deadline. I don't see like in the past they sell the players. I don't see anyone to leave the building. Other the fact Tanner Pearson, UFA, and then I don't think Sean Monahan go nowhere. But I don't see
Really? Wow.
I don't see
think they're gonna keep
Savard.
Monahan?
I don't see Madison leave the
Well,
building too.
yeah, you have both. I think Pearson and even Stevens is a UFA, if I'm not mistaken, this
Which
year
one?
as well. Stevens, Mitchell Stevens.
Oh yeah,
I think, and I mean, I don't anticipate much happening there, but I don't know. Monahan is intriguing. I think Savard is intriguing. Again, not to suggest I want to move Savard, because I can see the importance of having him on the team for many reasons. But
Guys, when
GM
did
comes
you?
along, GM comes along and offers you a first. Do you take it?
But guys, when did you change on that? Like I thought we all agreed that Monahan was almost for sure going to get traded this year. Like
Oh
so,
no,
you guys are
I believe that he will be moved. I mean,
a coach, but you
uh,
don't think they're going to move. So you think they're going to sign Monahan?
oh, it's in my wish list.
oh,
All right, hey, we keep
that's
dipping into our
different.
wish. Let's get into our wish list, Coach. We're going to start spoiling all of our wish lists.
I like people talking about that. What's going on and between NHL 14 game. I'm going to follow up a little bit later about this. Let's go where we're supposed to go. Let's go where we're supposed to go. And this is a place we're going to talk about this like we do. I keep that background, but I would like to hear from each one of the people in the chat. Give us a little bit your wish about this, and the captain guys score an empty net, and Ottawa guys, Ottawa for Toronto
4-2.
2.
Huge win for Ottawa. Huge,
You know,
good win.
I'm happy for Jacques Martin.
Absolutely, yeah.
That's my point behind that. I wish the best for sure.
Did you see the numbers on that, Coach? Like, so Jacques Martin is 71 years old. The last coach, Al Arbor, who was in his 70s, it was 75, but he didn't really coach. Like, it was just an honorary kind of honor that they gave him, like, coach for one game, just so that he could retire an Islander. So he's like literally one of the oldest coaches ever to be behind a bench. It's crazy.
Yep, sorry about that for sure. A lot of comments in the chat I would like to talk about, but we cannot talk about this right now. But we're going to talk about this. I would like to hear from each one of you. Give us your wish of a Montreal Canadiens, maybe a couple of them for the 2024. And we'll start with Marko on that one. About this, I did not do this for you, but I will go this way. It'll be easy for you. And we talk about the first one.
Yeah, well, hey, listen, like, was there anything more deflating than losing? Because Doc is probably my favorite player on the Habs. Was there anything more deflating than watching him go down for the entire season, 4 periods in? I couldn't believe it. So definitely for me, for 2024, it would be nice to have a healthy Kirby Doc for sure. Like, it would just be really nice. I love watching him play, other than just the fact that I like how he plays and everything else. It kind of goes into my other points here, but it's important for Kent Hughes and Gorton to really have an understanding of how good is Doc going to be exactly, right? What is he going to be on this team? because it's probably going to affect some of the other decisions that they're going to make, right? So having a healthy Kirby Dach, definitely at the top of my list for 2024. Still can't believe he's gone for the whole season. It was pretty hard to follow. So that's my first one, Coach. Next one, I don't remember the order, but yeah. So kind of what I was saying here with Dach, right? So listening to Kent Hughes here, what they're still doing is they're still evaluating kind of the core, right? Like they're still evaluating all the assets that they have, like whether it's players in the pipeline, playing in Laval, playing overseas, playing in the juniors or whatever. They're still evaluating all the assets they have, and they're going to need to really make sure that they get these evaluations right and figure out exactly who is it that they want to keep. Coach, earlier in your stream this morning, when we were watching the Team Canada game, I forget who it was, but they were talking about, I think it was Cedric. Oh yeah, it was King of Gamers who's talking about Cedric Guindon, and then we were talking about, Montreal has a lot of similar players, right? Like they
Yeah.
have, they have Farrell, they've got Guindon, they got, all those guys, right? Machar, all like under 5'11", smallish, skilled forwards. There's no way Montreal can keep 5 players like that, guys. They need to kind of really select who do they really want to go forward with, and then they need to start liquidating assets. So, but in order to do that, I'm hoping that they're spending a lot of time evaluating these players and these assets. So to me, that's a really important thing for them to do by the end of next year is, one more year of really evaluating all these prospects, and then you have a really good sense of what you have. Moving on to number 3, which kind of ties in with number 2. Coach, you go to number 3.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
I enjoyed to watching Toronto, and I'm sorry.
I know. Yeah, I can't blame you. So yeah, so which one of these players are you going to keep, and which ones are you going to trade? And then I'm sure Enortap. This is kind of what we were talking about before. Is okay. So now that you've identified who you're going to keep, whether it's which left-handed defenseman are you going to keep, which of those kind of like mid-sized forwards are you going to keep? Now you need to take the surplus assets that you have, and you need to and take, like, we have so many picks, guys, this year and next year. So that's when you start kind of like flipping these out. And Coach, if you scroll further, I think there's more to number 3. I think there's a little bit more. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
So that's okay. So we want to, use these surplus assets and picks to get a big scoring winger at the draft, right? So whether you're combining a Jordan Harris with a Machar and a second round pick to get the scoring winger that you want. Hopefully a winger that's within the same window, like a Kirby Dach Newhook kind of trade, where he's a 23, 24-year-old player that's going to fit in to the window with the rest of the players that we have. So that for sure is on my wish list, and we've talked about this a lot on the show, guys, is we have too many assets. An NHL team can only have 50 contracts at a time. So with all the players that we've drafted over the last 5 years, you have to be able to convert some of these assets into something else that you need. So to me, that's what I'd be looking for them to do there. Number 4.
All right.
Moving on.
I'm getting there.
Mentioned.
I'm getting excited when the listeners said Pittsburgh winning 6-0. Sorry about that.
Your eyes were right, Coach.
Yeah. So, Enortap, I'll be curious to see your take on this, but I really don't want them to overpay for an unrestricted free agent like a Gensel or somebody like that. I just don't think that they're ready for that. And, it would be contradicted to my number 3. I don't think you need to sign a UFA. I want them to convert all the assets that they have into getting an RFA or getting a player that is already under control by another organization because they can't afford them for whatever reason, because of salary cap reasons or whatever. So am I okay with them signing a UFA? Yeah, but I just don't want them to, I don't like the Detroit model of what Yzerman's been doing, like by trying to accelerate their rebuild by signing UFAs like Kopp and guys like that. So that would be on my wish list. I don't want them to go crazy on the UFA market next year and overpay for someone like that. And lastly, and this is a very critical point, guys, and we've been talking about the Ottawa Senators, right? To me, the Ottawa Senators are a perfect example of this, right? So everybody looks at the Ottawa Senators roster and they're like, wow, look at all this great, amazing young talent. For sure, they're going to be a playoff contender now, right? Because they have all these great players. But there's a transition that an organization has to go from, which is when you're collecting assets, and then you have all these great assets. Well, now that you have all these great players, what you might find is you have three players that are all very similar to each other. And you don't need three of the same type of player. You actually need a mix of different kinds of players. So you want to, so coach, I think you're just missing a little part of my headline there. If you scroll down
Really?
just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. So we want to start the transition from asset collection, which is where you're drafting players and stuff like that. And now we want to get into actual roster construction, right? So you're looking at your roster and what kind of roster do you want to build? And again, you might be looking at your assets and you might figure out, you know what? Okay, so we have Machar, Roy, Farrell. We have three of the same kind of guys, and we only really have spot for one, but we are missing this kind of player. So we need to go find a player like this, which we don't have in our organization, right? So at some point, you're going to have to move away from, hoarding assets, like just collecting assets, and then really start to build a team. And that's going to, kind of overlap with some of my other points, which is you're going to have to convert surplus of things that you already have to go find the things that you don't have so that you can build a really complete team. So, as you can see, a lot of these goals and wishes, guys, are really at the strategy level. It's not like, oh, my wish is Slavkovsky scores 20 goals. I'm really focused that in order for the team to be successful here, we got to play our cards right. And I think a lot of these points here are really important in the next year is to evaluate the players and then make sure that we're positioning ourselves to move on, hopefully the next phase and not have to wait another 5 years until we get to the roster construction part.
Well
That's it for me.
said. Well done, Mr. Marko. Going to go with Mr. Enortap. And he start with exactly that size that way.
Yeah, pretty much along the same lines as what Marco was saying, but a little bit more inclusive, not just Doc, but the entire team. Like I think we've gone through 2.5 years now where we've been leading the NHL and man games missed, and that's never a good thing for an organization that's trying to move forward. As I said earlier, it really takes you out of the rhythm of what you're trying to do and changes your plans, or at least postpones them until you can get a clear indication, just like in the case with Doc, of what he is, what he can give, where is he best suited, is he a winger, is he a centerman, etc. So that's my first wish, is that they can go healthy for an entire year, relatively healthy, because I don't think any team can really avoid some injuries, but minor things. Number two, I went back to my Zuklowski line, and that they really just continue to work well and gel together. I think that they've waited and were patient to get them to this stage. I think it was the intention all along to get this line working together at some point. Now that they have, and now that they've made some strides, it's important that the players themselves maintain that consistency and really sort of bring each other's best game out. And so I look forward to that, trying to show that they are truly a number one line. Number three, Struble. Sometimes you get a surprise, and not that he's a surprise per se, but maybe how everything unfolded and how he got here and how he's been performing so far. It would be fantastic if they can find a way to keep him here and continue with his development. I know it's so far it's been a small sample size, but he's been true to different indication or different obstacles that have come along the way, and he seems to have handled it. He seems like nothing really seems to phase him when he's out there. He can play different types of styles as well, which is something I really like to see. And even though he doesn't have great size, He's built like a brick wall, and that's what you need on defense to move forward. Number 4.
All right.
That's okay.
I'm watching Malkin got hurt.
Oh boy, uh, bring out the wheelchair. Yeah. The goalie resolution. I mean, yes, we needed to be patient. Hughes is a patient guy, and I think it's benefited them to some degree to have the 3 goalie situation this year. But I think most goalies, if given the option, would prefer to have a more consistent playing level where they know exactly what their routine is. They know exactly when they're going to be playing. They know exactly where they are in the hierarchy of things in terms of who's number 1, number 2. And I think I agree with what Marko was saying earlier. I think we're going to probably see them working from their assets more than going after a UFA. And I would not agree with a UFA right away. Maybe down the road when they're more of a playoff bound team, I can see that happening, that they might put a big chunk of money into a very good UFA. But at this point, they're probably better served packaging a couple players, and it'll happen through trade rather than free agency. Number 5. As much as you like to see them develop, wouldn't it be fantastic this year if they can pick up some high draft picks again and sort of bring the not the culmination, but at least add to what the pile that they have right now in terms of maybe getting because of the type of draft it is this year with both some very good forwards, excellent forwards, and it's really taught it to be a defense oriented draft up at the top as well. You might get a good forward a little bit lower. So I would like to see if they would get lucky either through picking that forward in a lower pick, or better still, if they actually won the lottery. Wouldn't that be something? And they could speed up the
That's
process
quite the
that way.
wish. That's quite the wish.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
you never
like the last couple times
combined with.
the last couple times that they've picked mid range has been pretty good. Caulfield and Gooley,
Yeah.
like it's not like you can't get good players when you're picking around that 10 to 15.
Exactly, and we're starting to see Massar coming along nicely, and some of the early second draft picks working out. He's having so far. I know it's only 2 games, but he's had a successful junior tournament. And what's number 6? What was number 6 or 5? Sorry, is that number 5? Coach?
Yeah.
I think you finished.
Oh, okay.
You're done enough. Okay. I know you want to talk more, but
come on, give me one more wish.
How about that? Montreal New Deal. I think for me, I hope they can go that direction with Montreal Canadiens. I think he stabilized the lineup, and the fact he can play on many different roles inside the team is really the guy. He can fill up any hole. Power play, PK, first line, second line, third line. I think for me, is really the most important players for the upcoming season. To
What's
get
your
a
top number, coach? Is it the same? Like you're at 3.5 was your top number, right? For 3 years?
Is that part of your I'm still below, of course, you know what I mean? Like if you request $6 million, I would say no. But if you talk about the players to fit in the roster, I hope they can have a new deal.
4.5?
At 3.5, at 3 years, I will get it.
4.5?
No, 3. I don't go over $4 million. If I go $4 million, I drop 2 years. And I don't think so he would like to go that way. I think he will go a little bit lower and he will get a little bit longer. I think that's what will be his point. And my point behind that is for me is like the Calgary tied the game 1-1, by the way. The point behind that is Montreal love Martin Saint-Louis. He loved to play Montreal. He liked the team, and he can see the team, the direction. You know what I mean? Like, you remember, like Connor Hellebuck last year. He said, "Wait a minute. I
Yeah.
need to talk with the management. I need to see what is the plan. What are you looking for?" I think Monahan is a type of player where he say, "You know what? I look here. My family love to be here. I think for me, he make what $60 million so far, and I know he did not win the Stanley Cup, but I don't see that happening. Ken Hughes is really loyal, and I don't said he will not trade anybody because the loyalty about, but he fit and the way. Marko, he did something. He said something very important. He said, they need to figure out what kind of team they want, right? And the next 3 years with the piece of the puzzle. Okay, that puzzle number one there in the corner here, in the middle, at the bottom. I think this is what they feel about Monahan. I think that would be at least they get something huge in return. I don't see Monahan go nowhere.
Disagree.
We'll see. I disagree too. But we'll see. It's interesting. Number 2.
I like that. Number 2, Lane Hudson, David Rebacker joined the Montreal Canadiens or the Rocket before the season start. And then for the upcoming season, Hudson, they have some conversation, maybe returning year number 3. I'm really doubt about this. The Rebacker, now the team over there is not looking great at Cloden, and I feel he will be back. Hopefully, he will be back. So for my wish, it's not only for the end of the season, but for the upcoming season. I don't think so. They're going to be both with the Montreal Canadiens. I think maybe one of the two would be with the Montreal at the beginning of the season, 2024, 2025. I hope both now going to be together, and that hopefully they're going to go to with the Laval Rocket. Nothing wrong to go that direction. Nemec did it. Jiricek did it. And I think that would be good for both players to taste the American Hockey League first before. Why before that is because if they are coming in the lineup, but they have to you have to remove some players over there. I don't know what it would be. That would be my wish for upcoming season for lineups.
Before you go to number 3, though, I just want you to look in the comments and understand that you're tearing my family apart. You have my brother agreeing with you about Monahan. You're going to start a family dispute.
I got one over there.
No, but
I agree with
you
Coach.
know what, Marco? Michelle brings up an excellent point. I think players that want to stay with the organization, it's not that don't sell out necessarily to money and are content with what they're offered here is an invaluable thing to have. So I can kind of see that point. I just think that there could be a more creative way, Coach. It doesn't necessarily have to be reflected, he's going to make 3.5 or $4 million. You could still make it a $3 million contract, but it's laden with all sorts of bonuses, which also serve as a motivation for the player himself.
Yeah,
but still count on the cap. They still count on the cap.
Yeah,
but
again,
that's
fine. That's fine.
But again, it's not about the salary cap. We said to you, be careful. Enortap, he did it this year because it was honestly his final year, 1-year contract, right? When you get at that level, he knows it's more about security. So for me, I would say to you, he would not. I would not feel. I don't see him to go that direction, like $500,000. If he was 35 years old, 36, 37, like Bergeron, Krejcik, everything like that, this is another ball game. But at 29, I don't feel that way. I don't see that. The word, when Michel said, Marko and Enortap, the word is really reasonable contract and to sign. Exactly. This is the word right there. Yeah. That's same thing.
To me, like looking at the numbers, guys, realistically speaking, if you're looking at Monahan for a 3-year contract, and I agree with Coach, he's not going to want to sign a 2-year deal. This is probably the last really big payday for him, right? Like, realistically. So I don't think you get Monahan for any less than 4.5 for 3 years. So to me, if you look at the marketplace, that's not terrible for a guy like Monahan. But if it starts to go above 4.5, then you have to walk away. Just because, as I've pointed out many times, like his skating, the injuries, and even if he stays healthy, guys, his skating is not elite enough to really kind of be useful 2 years from now, especially with the injuries that he's had. Anyways, we've talked about Monahan a lot. I just want to tell you, Coach, that you're destroying my family, but you can go on to your third point. It's okay. Go ahead.
All right, let's move on. Maybe I can hit more. Number 3, sign a top 6 forward. And this reflects a bit with Monahan on that one there, but I think they need to sign a top 6 forward. Now, when I said that, it could be UFA, and I could add the word, I don't think so, I did by trade. But I think that would be something they need to add. If you want to move forward, if you want to go the right direction, you talk a lot of time the winning, the culture of winning, everything like that. They cannot regress, and they need. You can see Montreal Canadiens if they lose one specific player, Caulfield, Suzuki, Doc, you can see Osakaski. They don't have anybody to pick up the old for the year, and you need to extra top 6. And they don't have anybody in the AB organization right now and Laval to get that spot over there. If you look at the bottom 6, they don't have a steady players in that lineup. They can say, you know what, he can be that top 6 for the Montreal Canadiens to like 80 game. So for me, it will be important to sign a top 6. Again, not necessarily to be a Nylander, a Guanzel top line, but a second line players to get that kind of 50, 60 point if they don't want to get that level yet on the top, that top line over there. For me, this is really important for the upcoming season to get that structure inside the Montreal Canadiens. My number 4.
I think we all agree that they need to get a top 6 forward. We just disagree on how they should do it. Coach, so you'd be okay with signing a 30-year-old?
No, I will say to you, I will trade my pick number 8, 2024, to make a trade a little bit at that Kirby Doc or something like that. All right, that's what I'm talking about. And I don't have no specific. I don't have no specific or a trade like Kevin Fiala make from Minnesota to LA. That's what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? I don't have. I would be really, really careful. Caution to sign a player like 29 years old, 30, 31 years old at that level about that. The longevity of the contract, the amount of the contract. I think for me, Marko, I would not sign player over $7 million as a UFA. A player can merge as a second line and, like Sam
Arthur
Bennett. I just give you a name like a Sam Bennett, a second line in the NHL, $5-6 million, 26 years old. I don't know they have, honestly, but a trade like that, I think there will be benefit for Montreal at 23, 24 years old. And they have players right now, they have to move something, have to make some move at some point.
Arthur Kaliev.
Yeah.
Well, you look at a team like you were mentioning it earlier, like New Jersey, that's going to be in need. I mean, you could really package something nice, and wouldn't it be great if somehow you could entice Dawson Mercer to come here? I think that would be a great fit.
I think he's one of our core pieces, though. But yeah.
People asking me, you would try the first round pick. I just want to be careful, guys. Not a top 5, a top 7, or top 6. And you have to see what it look like on the board. But if I'm about 9, 10, 11, 12, and I get a young person in return, I would not be worried about that to make that trade over there. Because that player is coming now on the 10, 12, 11. I expect him not be with Montreal for the next 3 years. That would be it'll be far. And it'll be a little bit more late. So if you get a player at 22 years old, I don't have no name in front of me right now would mention a specific player. But remember, like the Boston Bruins guys make a trade for Pavel Zacha a couple of years ago. Like, look like Zacha is big center, 6'3" right now. It took him 2 years. He learned under Bergeron. He learned about Krejcik. And look, this year, it is so much better. Again, I don't know. Like,
tell me what don't you like about Arthur Kaliev? He's like the perfect guy, like big left-handed shot for the power play, can snipe. He's big. He actually plays both sides of the puck. He's 23 years old, I think. He's the same age as Caulfield. Like, to me, that would be the
you love that kid all the time. I think that would be at least another big winger we don't have. I think for me, it's better to hand him in Kaliev.
Way better than
Oh my
God. Secondly, I would say a guy like Sharankovic. You see Calgary trade Toffoli for Sharankovic. That's what I'm talking about. Again, I don't have no specific, but that's what I'm talking about. My wish number 3. My wish number 4, win the NHL draft lottery. Now, I want to trade the draft pick, but again, you can finish at the bottom 10, but you can win the lottery. You get a Celebrini, guys, or a second pick at one of the two. You don't have to win the number 1, right? You can finish number 2. They can put over there. God was not with us for the last 2 seasons, but now I go to the à Saint Joseph every day. I walk all the way up on my knee, and then I turn some light on every day to get that lottery right there.
Light
we
a
need
candle.
a player like that. Why not point behind that an elite player? That's my point behind that one there. Hopefully, it will be my wish. This is the reason I do my list. And number 5, guy, the lowest recap about that trading, they will rack Armia or Jake Allen. Not only targeting the salary cap, but also open up spot inside the Montreal Canadiens to open it at 22 years old or 20 years old, all in, everything like those kind of players were already with Montreal, but open up more spot. I understand, but why not keep Armia looking good? But you cannot come in those kind of players at $3.4 million more. I think that will be helping the Montreal Canadiens. Do I put Anderson there? I could mention his name at 5.5. Do I put Gallagher here? I can put his name there. And then I think that would be my 5. I have more like Enortap said, but I will conclude my wish of the 2024 for the Montreal Canadiens.
Sure.
That's it. That's all.
Well done. Well done.
Madison et Savard for Patrick Leblanc about that. So let's go back over there, back where we're supposed to be at right here, guys. And then you have a question for someone, and that will be now a long time to recover it. Christian Hugo already said numerous time they are not signed over 26 years old. You're absolutely right about that. You have a question for someone earlier about trade or something like that. When Marko was talking, and I said I need to look about this. If Hudson returned to the college GSM, you better be nervous because it's the first 1 year away from one of the shouldn't be able. No, don't worry about that. They will not go nowhere. I can do that. What do you do with Gallagher?
Nothing for now. You can't do anything with Gallagher. He is not going anywhere. Maybe like, when he has 2 years left, you have a team that's looking to gain assets and they're willing to take on some salary. Maybe you can do something then, but with he's got 4 years left.
He's got about 4 years.
Yep.
So no team is coming near that. And Montreal's not going to retain salary on a deal that long, so he's not going anywhere.
Okay, I got that one. Abination ask, I have a question that throat ranch. What do you do at the trade deadline? Sorry about that. About at the trade deadline.
Yeah. So if they're 4 points, if Montreal is 4 points, in the playoffs, they're in the playoffs at the trade deadline. Do you buy? The answer is no, for me, anyways. Maybe you don't sell. So if you were maybe planning on trading Monahan, then maybe you don't sell him. And to me, this is the analysis that Kent Hughes and this coaching staff would have to do. Is getting, a second round pick or a young player for Monahan, unless the return is just amazing and you can't pass it up, right? But really it's a balance between these two things. Is what you're getting back for whatever you would think of trading away more valuable than the experience that the young core is going to get by being in a playoff chase or even potentially making the playoffs? That's the calculation that you're making, because you're essentially sending a message to your team that you're selling right while they're in a playoff hunt or they're in a playoff position. So I don't think you can do that unless and some teams have done it before, but I don't think it's the right message to send. Could you add something like a depth piece? Maybe, if you, let's say you wanted to add a veteran defenseman or a veteran, fourth line center in case you have an injury or something like that, and you give away a 4th round pick for depth. Yes, but you're not going to go out and make a trade for like the whole Thomas Vanek trade, that Marc Benjamin did, or trading for Patrick Kane at the deadline to get you over the hump. You're not doing that. If by some miracle Montreal's in a playoff position at the trade deadline, I would be absolutely shocked if Kent Hughes would do that.
Yeah, I think it would be very short-sighted of them. I mean, they have a plan in mind. They know exactly what they're doing. If by some coincidence, a lucky break, they happen to be in a playoff spot at that stage in time, or very close. I agree, Marco. I don't see them. I don't see them really buying, because then what you're doing is you're just prolonging the process of where you want to get to, because you'd be in trouble in terms of what you're acquiring. Does it fit into your plans for the future, or is it something that's reactionary to the situation at hand? The best thing is to let things sort of lay out. Even if I mean, I wouldn't be adverse to selling as well. I know it doesn't send a good message, but I think the team and the management knows by that stage, okay, we know what we can get out of the players that we have. We know what we need to build on. What if also we can speed up the process by getting rid of a couple contracts? I don't think it's something that they would necessarily
Enortap,
feel adverse
imagine
to.
that, though. Imagine you're in a playoff spot miraculously, right? Like your team
Yeah,
miraculously breaks, fools all the experts and is somehow in a playoff position, and you trade Monahan at the trade deadline. What kind of kick in the nuts would that be to the entire team, right?
it
Like I just don't
it
think they
depends
can
what
do
you're getting back in return, Marco. That's the
it.
issue.
Again, if you're
I
getting,
understand
if
it, but
you're,
I think the players are also not naive to realize, okay, we're the second wild card team. Who are we playing? Oh, looks like we're out first round.
But
I
enough
mean, they
tap.
they have a reality check,
Yeah,
and
but
I
enough
know.
tap. Enough tap.
Don't bring up. Yeah,
What kind of player you can get for the deadline, and the Montreal does not have in their team somewhere on the injury reserve or whatever they are. Like what kind of player can add more? They don't have any spot. They have extra players right now with Eneman, Alanin, anything like that. If you cannot bring a top six, it would cost you nothing. The purpose, I don't think so. It will be really the player will understand where they at and the rebuilding, and they understand. Look, we cannot give away a player for, or maybe we never make the playoff anyway. And what would be the purpose behind that? I don't think so. They will go that way.
I'm not sure where you're getting to. Like
But
what's
if you want
what's
to add to, you want to please the player, right? For the reward they did right there at that area in March, and they're still in the playoff, right? You want to add a player, right?
No, I don't want to add. I'm against that.
no,
I'm saying
he's
that you
talking.
you don't sell. You don't buy players. Preferably, you don't sell either. But if you had to, and you could get a second line winger that could help the squad down in the future, I think it's something that you need to explore. It's
That would
it's
cost
Look,
you too high in the traded line to do that.
like a team
well,
that is contending is not going to send you one of their top wingers to get like a third line center on their cup contending team, right?
it depends, Marco. If a team has a need, for example, and I'll throw something there. I need a really good defenseman. I need a really good goalie. My starter just went down. So now you can package something together because, as we were saying earlier, that's where your assets are at. You're working from a point of strength. And if you turn
Super
around
chat.
and then send that to
Go ahead, finish.
if you send that to, let's say, a New Jersey who's in dire need for that, possibly, again, this is all hypothetical, and they throw you a Dawson Mercer in return, I mean, I think that's a win-win situation for both teams because they're working from a point of strength as well. They have the forwards. I think they need to think about Hamilton.
Breaking news.
Breaking news:
Jonathan
the
Drouin scored
Pittsburgh
his
Penguins.
fifth goal of the year.
Woo!
Oh, 5.
Ty
Wow.
Josh Anderson.
Ooh.
His best friend.
About that
Awesome.
one with it, but there's more important things. It's about a breaking news. Reverse Rick Robitaille. He did it again. Rick Robitaille, ladies and gentlemen, the super chat of the Hockey Nation I show App Nation. And then to this week, we have now a new fire, some kind of, I don't know, we call it like confettis, everything like that. So we're going to get some noise with that. It's coming soon anyway. But that's what we got, guys, on that one there. So thanks so much, Rick, for that one. Here we go, guys. Do we have another breaking news? We have another breaking news. Don't go nowhere. We have breaking news. Here's the night of breaking news.
Pittsburgh wins 7-0.
Connor Bedard scores 14 goals this season, but he's back in the house from Lange Gardier. Luc Lafortune is in the house tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, Luc Lafortune. Another breaking news.
Hey, Luc.
We're really reaching for
Very Noel.
So now Luc Lafortune cannot say any time he did not did the highlights of the Hockey Nation in 2023. He did it again, ladies and gentlemen. So, a lot of people in that chat. Thanks so much, everybody. Don't forget, guys, to click on the like. Now, it's a fun Friday. It's a fun night. We go that direction. We can have a couple of things. We can talk about this. But before that, one name he was in that chat, I think Marko said it, Kuzmenko for the Vancouver Canucks. So my point behind that is, and the people in the chat, Chris, this is the one he bring this name, I believe, in the chat. That people make some comments. What would be the value in return to get Kuzmenko with the Vancouver Canucks? I think he has 6 goals right now. I could be wrong, but what would be his value in return?
Yeah, Coach, we disagreed on this one a couple weeks ago. Like, you were throwing out some crazy, like you had like a first rounder and you had like 3 big assets going back for Kuzmenko. First of all, I don't think he's a fit for the Habs just because he's a right-hand shot. And I don't think he fits.
Oh, he fit very well on the power play.
Well, no, because, Coach, you've been talking about it for months now. They need a left-hand shot. The last thing they need is another right-hand shot.
Oh, you talking about right? Okay, you said a right shot.
Yeah, he's a right-handed. Yeah, he's a right-handed shot, right? So he's not really going to fit our needs right now. But in terms of what he's going to bring back, like, again, Coach, like, this year there's still the cap issue, right? Like, if I'm Vancouver, I'm waiting till next year or the summer to do something, unless they absolutely need to do it to free up some space to upgrade their defense, which they still need to. I think they're one really good defenseman in their top 4 away from really being a dangerous team. But if I'm Vancouver, I'm waiting till next year to move Kuzmenko because the cap is going up. Teams are going to have more flexibility. Your return is going to be a lot more. So I'm not sure exactly what your return is going to be this year, but I'm quite confident that it's going to be much higher if you wait next year or the summer to move him.
Carrying a $5.5 million, turn 28 and for base again. Have 8 goals now and 19 points in 30 games this year, guys. Last year he scored 39
he had a very good year.
39 goals, guys.
Yeah.
This is a kind of player I'm talking about, second line. This is exactly that kind of player.
But remember, you were talking
might be a bit of a high ticket.
And Coach, remember, let's call it the Huberdeau factor or the Barkov factor, right? Like, remember, sometimes you have players that maybe their production is a little bit inflated because of who they're playing with. Like Kuzmenko played a lot with Pedersen last year. To me, I'd be looking, and I'm using Kaliev again as an example. I'm wanting to pick somebody who maybe is being underutilized in a lineup. Like right now, Kaliev is playing like 4th or 3rd line. But I think he has the opportunity to do a lot more. So you're looking for players like that. Remember Kent Hughes, one of his philosophies is always buy low and sell high. For me, Kuzmenko, yes, like he's having a tough season, so you're not buying him at peak value. But if you're paying for him based on his production last year, it is playing with Pedersen. Is he really going to be that productive playing with Dvorak or Sean Monahan? I don't know.
I don't see him really fitting into our equation.
No.
Number one, I mean, the age factor is starting to come into play. 5.5 million is what he's at right now. I think he's got one more year left, right? Is he a UFA this year?
I think he's
He's
got 2
a
years.
UFA after that. Yeah, one more year to go.
After that, yeah. So he does have one more year, and if he continues to have a good year, I mean, he started off slowly this year, which was a bit problematic, but he's really come along now, and he's going to command somewhere in the neighborhood. I would say minimum 7.5 minimum.
If Tocchet doesn't like the way he's playing, I'm pretty sure St. Louis is not going to like the way he plays either. To put it bluntly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you trade him for Jordan Harris, a second round pick?
No. 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 You don't like, Coach. It's exactly like we've been talking about, right? Like yes, Montreal needs to add some goals to their lineup, but they need to do it with players that play the right way. Or at least maybe they haven't learned how to play the right way yet, but they're coachable, right? Like it's not looking like Kuzmenko is a guy that is very coachable, so that again, like they'd have to do their research on a guy like that, right? Like to me, it has kind of like the same feeling of who's the Russian dude that we got last year? I always forget his name, the guy that we took a chance on
from Dallas.
Yeah.
Not that. Oh my gosh.
But you know who I mean, right? Like to me, that's fine. Like I pick up a guy like that on waivers. You take a chance like that, but I'm not trading assets for a project for a guy that isn't really doesn't really have the reputation for playing the right way in the NHL.
But it's only for 1 year. Imagine
why do we need a rental like that, Coach?
Because we don't have nobody in the second line. We don't have no right winger in the second line. That's exactly why it costs you only $5.5 million. Imagine if you score 25, 30 goals with the Montreal Canadiens. Now you have a player that can score like that part there. I would tell you, 10 players with Montreal before they play with Martin St. Louis did not play the 200 game.
But he's a right-hand shot, though, Coach. We need a left-hand shot.
Not a second line.
Yeah.
Who do you have in second line?
Right now, you have Evans. Like right now, like there's too many right-hand shots, and
it's just really at the second line.
Yeah, which is also a right-hand shot.
Yeah, but my point is like we don't have a caliber. You can have 10 right shot, but nobody can play on the top line. That's not going to help.
But it's not going to help on the power play. That's really where the big need is, Coach, is a left-hand shot on the power play. That's like you've nailed it so many times, and he just doesn't fit that.
Yeah, but if he scored 4 goals this last year, I think with this year on the power play, I think for me, it's the kind of player you can get in return where it can give you 30 goals per year, and it costs you almost not much in return. The cost, if he gave you a first round pick, I would be understand with you. But right now, as a kind of player we don't have, I think I will take a chance with him about that. That's the kind of player we're looking for me. Now, of course, the costs come with, I don't know.
I think that's the bigger issue for me is the amount of money that you're going to tie up and possibly
now you have 2 players in the Enortap. You have 2 players they talk in the chat from Mark, I believe he was Jared McCann for the Seattle Kraken. That's the one over there. I think one, and then I don't like the second one. I don't like Victor Olofsson for Buffalo Sabres.
Very one-dimensional. Like we don't need guys. If you loved Mike Hoffman, then you're gonna love these guys too. I don't want another Mike Hoffman. Oh well, he was supposed to come in and score 30 goals, but he's doesn't know how to play hockey, guys. Hockey, like St. Louis says all the time. Like St. Louis says all the time, 99% of the game you don't have the puck, right? So you need to hockey is all about how you play when you don't have the puck. Yes, we need some guys that can score, but they need to know how to play hockey, guys. I'm not convinced Kuzmenko fits that bill at all, especially in your top 6.
Yeah.
No way.
and the mindset is also not the same as where Martin St. Louis is at. I mean, you look at a team like Philadelphia. It took a year before Torts could clear out the players that he did not want, that did not buy into his system. And look at what he's doing so far this year with a group of players that are not necessarily elite. They have a couple of very good players, but there's no elite player on the team, and yet they're accomplishing things because they buy into the system of the coach.
See, like Mark D is making us, Valerie Nichushkin, right? Like to me, that's the prototypical glue guy, right? Like that's who I'm hoping that Slavkovsky will kind of turn into. But there's no way you're getting Nichushkin. He's just too valuable. But that kind of player, he doesn't have to be that big either, right? But just somebody who, if he can score 20, 25 goals in your top six, but just knows how to play the right way, can come and complete that top six and be a good two-way forward, and still kind of be productive on the power play. That's who I'm looking to add. If you look at Florida guys, like look at their second, you nailed it, coach. Like you look at their second line in their playoff run, you're looking at Cousins, Bennett, and Tkachuk. Now Tkachuk is an elite player, right? But other than that, like you look at that Florida team and down the lineup, there's not any players that are one-dimensional, like a Mike Hoffman or a sniper guy. All he can do is snipe. We already have a guy like that. We have Cole Caulfield. He's a pretty one-dimensional player. You can't add another one-dimensional player to your top six like a Kuzmenko and expect to play winning hockey. I just don't think you can do it.
But it's rare you're going to find a players like a 40 goal, 35 goal, whatever it is, and they're all like great on defensive.
But here's the thing, coach.
That's true. That's true.
Here's a good analogy. You go to Walmart and you see there's like a bin there's a special on crab meat, okay? But you already know that at home, you already have a fridge full of crab meat. Just because it's 50% off and it's a good deal, you don't buy a whole bunch of more crab meat because you don't need it. So we already have Caulfield.
We got enough crab.
We don't need more crab meat. That's all I'm saying. That's if there's one thing to retain from the whole show tonight, we don't need more crab meat.
A lot of great comments about in the chat. Like Mark talked about Buchnevich with the St. Louis Blues.
Yeah, that would be another good pickup.
Triple W, welcome back. Talk about Nelson with Islanders. That's one. And then Christensen said that Jordan Eberle is like the Jonathan Drouin 2.0. About that. I think Brock Nelson is the one.
Bad, but...
Go ahead.
No, I was saying not that bad. He's not as bad as Drouin, but he's actually he can be a clutch scorer, but he's very injury prone, and he's also
it's sad because we have one.
Yeah,
it's Josh Anderson.
Yeah. If ever he can put it together.
Yeah, I mean, like that's what we have. It's just if he could put that puck in the net at 25, 30 goal, he does have that kind of, he did it. But I think we have the prototype player could be that level if he could score more goal. It's you have it, you don't have it in NHL, right? But would be very interesting about that. It was a great subject for that part for sure.
Patrick in the chat said Hughes got rid of all the cancers. He won't go and get others. Nailed it. To me, that's exactly it, right? Like it's all about culture. Even just somebody can come and score 25 goals by en se poignant à bang, comme on dit en français, like just floating out there and not really playing the right way. Not worth it.
Yeah, what's the first thing that
I don't know why. What kind of word did you hear about Kuzmenko is a bad teammate?
I'm not saying he's a bad teammate. I just don't think he plays hockey the right way. Have you watched him play closely? He doesn't.
Is that a guy go in front of the net?
Yeah, but he also doesn't.
He drive in the net. He drive to the net. The guy can score goals.
He doesn't play a 200 game, a 200-foot game, though.
Not a 200-foot game. No.
Right?
No.
Not at all.
But again,
that's not going to fit in with Martin St. Louis. That's what the issue is. Like I was just trying to point out.
Anybody, guys, you get William Nylander. You're going to tell
Yeah.
me he's not fit with Martin St. Louis, right?
Right.
Go get Jake
Doesn't.
Guenzel. You're going to tell me he don't fit with Martin St. Louis again? Like any scorer in the NHL does not play the 200 feet. They are rare. They are
I
rare.
disagree. I
So
Yeah,
disagree.
you
they're
need to
rare, but
learn to go that direction. You have to teach the player to teach the other side of the game. Because you're going to,
I mean,
90% of players does not know play. Josh Anderson did not learn. Cole Caulfield did not learn. Nick Ski did not learn. They're learning with the Martin St. Louis.
yeah, but okay. Two different things here, Coach. This is an interesting
yeah, I
debate.
think
I know
so.
you want to move on to something else, but this is a good debate. William Nylander, I think, by asking the question, you're answering the question. Ultimately, has Toronto won anything with Nylander? No. Although he's been probably one of their better playoff players, but that being said, Toronto hasn't really won anything because they don't really have the right mix of players yet. When it comes to Guentzel, that's different. Like, the guy's a proven winner. You're like, yeah, he scores goals, but he does play hockey the right way. He has played on winning teams. He can follow a game plan. So you can't compare William Nylander to Guentzel. He's won something. He's a winner. So I agree. There's, what you're looking for is somebody who has the ability to score goals, but is not going to put his own personal performance above the team success. That's what you're looking for.
Well,
The
just,
classic example of that is, remember Steve Yzerman, right? Steve Yzerman coming out as a rookie, he could have easily been in the top 5 scoring with Gretzky and Lemieux and all those. And then all of a sudden, whoop, his production went way down. And what happened? Red Wings started to win cups. That's, to me, is the ultimate example of a guy who has the talent and learns how to play the right way, sees his production go down, but team success comes first. Those are
yeah,
the kinds of I'm looking for.
yeah, look at Vegas and the way they built around that and cleared out some players that didn't buy in, and you got guys like Stone and Eichel that are just buy in 100%, and they back check all the time. Like, that's what you need. And remember, the very first thing in the rebuild process, what was it about? It was about trying to bring in
Culture.
somebody and then build a culture. So that's
Culture.
that's your common denominator. That's your foundations. If all of a sudden along that process you start to bring in a player or two that don't buy in, like a Hoffman, who's then going to go on the bench and say, "Why am I playing 12 minutes? I could be helping this team," and it's counterproductive to what they're trying to do. And we're seeing it, like I said earlier, we're seeing it with Philadelphia. They cleared out some bad
Yeah.
weeds there, and all of a sudden they're doing much better.
And look at the Rangers last year. To me, it's still baffling. Like Chris Drury, the reason that they fired Jeff Gorton is they didn't like the way that the Rangers were manhandled by the Washington Capitals and Tom Wilson. They wanted to get tougher. They wanted to be harder to play against. Okay, bring in Chris Drury. Great. So it looks like they're doing that. They get Bled and they make a couple moves. And then what do? They go get Tarasenko and Patrick Kane at the trade deadline, completely screw up the whole chemistry on their team, make their team softer and easier to play against, and they lose in the first round.
Yeah.
Talent does not mean anything, guys. It's remember I said what my wish list is roster construction. Ottawa's the perfect example right now. Pierre Dorion made so many mistakes in his roster construction, using the money to get Tarasenko. Why are you going to get Tarasenko? You already have plenty of scoring in your lineup. Why do you need to add another 25, 30 goal scorer? Why are you getting Kubalik?
Because they
Like,
let the
that
bring
money,
cap.
I get it.
Well,
I know that you need to get something back for DeBrincat,
Because
but
they knew they cannot get Pinto for 41 games.
that's fine. But okay, then go get a center. Don't get another soft winger
yeah,
who
yeah,
you don't like it. Just like
But the
the
market at that
centers
time,
are
they
not.
don't have enough. They try to hope they can get 20 games, and they have only 1 year at the end of the night. So they was not like end of the world about that part of it.
Yeah,
They're not going to build with the rest and go forever.
I get it.
You know what I
Still
mean?
wasn't a
Like,
good hire. Still,
so
to me, like, again, if you're saying that your intent is to make the playoffs and you have a plan, I would do the exact opposite of what Ottawa is doing. Is you're building a culture and you're getting players that fit in the culture. Like, to me, getting Tarasenko and Kubalik is very much the last year that Bergevin was here, right? He's like, okay, oh my God, I'm losing Kakiniemi, I'm losing Weber. Okay, I'll get Savard, I'll get Hoffman, and I'll get he was just kind of like hoping that pieces would fit, more so than actually kind of looking at whether
So
those
this is
pieces
very
fit.
important. One thing you have to learn about that is very important to do your homework, like searching what kind of player they are, how they can fit
Yeah,
inside the organization, how he can play with that team with the specific role, and how he, what I mean, like you do not you make only a trade for fix one specific problem you
right.
have,
Yeah,
but to look about
yeah.
other area of the games. Can he help you on that list or that one? He can do that one over there, and they put all together. So it's all about
And
homework about that. Is that's one thing Mark
what better
Bertrand was
person
doing.
to have? What better person to have than Hughes? I mean, the fact that he worked as an agent, and he's also through his own son, he knows a lot of the players, and uh, like I think that's invaluable. He knows a lot about the character of these players, and that's why he's making some shrewd moves so far.
We'll see what happened about that, everything like that. We're going to move on to 36. We don't have a lot of subject, but we have a couple of things we can talk about. If I can go in the right direction, go that one, go this one, we'll go that one, we're going to go on the I need to improve. We talk a little bit about everything we mentioned about this. Am News Review 2023, the biggest move or the biggest moment of the year in 2023 for the Montreal Canadiens last year. You have to go all the way for January. The trade deadline from Ken Hughes. It was very quiet. I will give you at that part. A lot of people was expect a lot on the trade NHL draft. The selection, David Rebacker, possible. The fact they skip Benson or Mitchkov or Leonard. It could be a specific trade. It could be the saga, the trait of the three lousy players like Drouin, Hoffman, and then Dadanap, whatever it is. So just sharing with us what you think about that there. Is it not one of you was looking for the name Kuryanov earlier? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gurionov. Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah.
Let's make it our New Year's resolution to never say his name again, because I don't think we'll need to.
He played in American Hockey League now.
Yeah. He didn't make. He's
Yeah.
in Nashville's organization, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, not
All right,
surprising.
Enortap, I'll let you take a first stab at this one. I need more time to think.
Yeah, I mean, me too. This is a new topic. I thought maybe we were going to talk more about NHL rather than just the Habs, but I mean,
It'll be
when
the
you look
next
at
one after that.
okay. So with
Sorry about that.
Montreal review, we've kind of hit on a few things there. Biggest moves, I think, that stand out to me, I guess, was the Doc acquisition at the draft. I thought that was something that worked
That was
towards getting a
2022, though,
player.
wasn't it? Wasn't that
Was it
2022?
22?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. So, and we haven't really seen the full impact, to be totally honest with that, but we'll see. Um, I mean, again, I come back to things like I I think biggest moments have been the emergence of some of the young defense, Slavkovsky as well as a forward. I think given where he was at last year and where so far he is this year, I see the definite positive strides that he's made, and he's living up more to the fact that, as Hughes said at the time, or Gorton did, we didn't pick him for today. We picked him for what he could be in 5 or 6 years from now. And it seems to be going in that direction. And it was I think it was a bold move because for the longest time, I thought, the all indicators were pointing to Shane Wright being selected over him. It didn't happen, and it looks good. The defense, like I said, some of the players have really come a long way. Guys like Gouli, Kovacevic, picking him up again. That was last year more than this year, but the impact is coming through this year, and you're seeing that Montebo as well, to the point that he was picked up on waivers, and now he's going to be arguably your number one goaltender moving forward. So that's also a big move and a big moment in their development. So, I mean, those are perhaps the ones that stick out right away to me. I don't know if you have other ones that come to mind, Marko.
Yeah, so big moves, like are the biggest, I guess, developments, I guess, in Habs land this year. Like you got to go back to the draft, right? Like is probably the biggest thing. We, we did the lottery draft live. You know, uh, we should go back and watch that to see how disappointed our faces were when we didn't win. But obviously, there's a lot of controversy, with the draft. Still lots of sore feelings and still lots of disagreement about kind of what happened at the draft in terms of Montreal picking Reinbacher. You can argue both sides. I can definitely argue both sides as to why they did that. And then, I think overall, you were talking about the 2022 draft Intertap. I tried to warn everybody that, guys, 2023 draft, it's going to be hard to top the 2022. It was just probably the most entertaining draft you could ever imagine as a Habs fan. First of all, it's in Montreal. You have the first overall pick. He makes two big trades in the first round. Like, there's no way. Like, that's a very hard act to follow if you're Kent Hughes the next
Yeah.
year to do something that exciting, right? I know I'm boring, coach. He's yawning and everything, but I'll try to make it more exciting.
No, I
But
apologize for that, but I was thinking about it hurt to see Sharankovic with 17 points the last 19 games.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, and
he's
you could have had him for almost nothing.
yeah. Well, who did they trade for him? They traded to Foley for him, right?
240, yeah.
Yeah.
Not nothing. Anyway, so the
No,
draft was pretty
when
big.
he was. Yeah, go
So
ahead.
the
Sorry.
draft is you're getting Reinbacher, instead of, like coach said, Mitchkoff was the big debate. You guys know that I'm a huge Benson guy. But then the other big story in the draft was trading, two pretty high picks for Newhook. That was another big deal. And we'll see how that plays out. Unfortunately, the two big moves that Montreal made at the draft, we've yet to really see them play out yet. That's probably the most. Kent Hughes has been very vocal about that. It's probably the most disappointing thing for him. And it's very difficult, challenging for the Habs management team because, time is moving here, guys. Like they need to see how important are these players going to be in the Habs organization, right? Like, or else they have to start thinking of what's next, and it's probably going to affect other moves that they make. So definitely the draft was huge. Other than that, I would say one thing I take away from 2023, like we talked about, is patience. Ken Hughes is very patient with these assets. We all know that he's going to have to trade some defensemen, but he's not going to do it at a time that is not advantageous to him, right? So I think we'll see that spill into 2024. But big development for 2023 is the emergence of Sam Montembeault, 3-year contract. If you look at the underlying numbers, they're very strong for Montembeault. So we'll see if that can continue. And many of the things that Enortap mentioned, but obviously the draft was probably the highlight of 2023 in terms of what they did, because it was a pretty uneventful trade deadline, and very disappointing year last year with injuries and everything. And then so far, we've talked in length and in depth about kind of what's happened so far this year. So to me, those are the biggest moments, for the year. They didn't, one thing, coach, like, remember Hughes and Gordon talked about, one of their big objectives was to not only make the team better, but to bring the organization into the 21st century. Right. So
Yeah.
they definitely did a lot of moves early on when they came. But are you surprised maybe that there wasn't more investment made in certain elements? I guess another big story was the medical team, like changing the medical team this summer. That was a big move. So they made a lot of the investments that they made in the hockey operation side was done early on in the first half year that they were there. But maybe that's one little surprise is we didn't see them continue to add more talent to the hockey operation side. I'd like to see that continue. There's the scouting
I think
staff.
it
You could
will.
say the amateur scouting. There's a lot of debate in Habs world about Bobroff, and Lapointe. So could there be some improvements to the amateur scouting side? things like that, right? But so overall, those are kind of my takeaways for 2023.
Great. Enortap?
You already went.
Yeah, I mentioned.
No, anything
I was
else?
first.
Sorry about that. I was
No,
just
that's it. That's it.
okay.
As an aside, I would like to, a little bit breaking news. We all know that Pittsburgh won tonight 7-0, but in that game, I believe Chris Letang had 5 assists, and he got them all in one period, which is an NHL record for defensemen. So congratulations to Letang.
We love Chris Letang. He's awesome.
I will
Yeah.
stay quiet until April.
Enjoy it, coach. It's one night.
Yeah, it's,
As you notice,
it's more better when you get Islanders, by the way. Understand that?
yeah.
About that one over there.
I still don't think the Pens are making the playoffs, though.
No, they won't. They won't. Tell coach. But anyways, that we do digress. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Coach, what was your takeaways for 2023?
For me, you have a few of them, honestly. But many of you, Marko, you really reflect a bit more. But I would say the trade for Alex Newhook, 31 and 37 draft pick for that was a little bit shocking to me. Because those, the NHL draft 2023 is really a good one. And when I said good one, it's not only about the top 10, but deep in the first round, at the beginning of the second round, you have still player could become a good hockey player in NHL. But they prefer to go with a young player play already one of the 50 game in NHL experience Stanley Cup. Again, that's exactly what they took looking for, is to know the character, the players, and what he can bring, everything. So that would be really what I was not expecting an initial draft for Montreal when they gave the 31, 37. But that remember, guys, at that area, you have a goaltender rabble. You have a couple of pieces of puzzle they may be looking for to add in the future. So for me, it was a bit shocking to see that trade from Ken Hughes for that. And honestly, after that, it's just like the way the injuries is really where it's really destroy a little bit what they try to work on it, right? They were like last year. You think about after in January and February and March, you get injury from Jakai, injury from Sakoski, two young players, Cooley missed a ton of game after at the beginning of 2024, and then after that, and the beginning of this year, we lost Kirby Duck after 4 period. So it's a Montreal. Honestly, guys, it's almost a miracle. You're going to laugh at me. It's almost a miracle where they at right now. They have never been lucky. Can use Jeff Gordon's there. First of all, the draft they get a first overall pick. Maybe it's the one of the worst draft, talent-wise, skill-wise, in the last 20 years. Right? I don't say again Sakoski, but talent-wise and the draft players that was not lucky about that. And then after that, it's injury after injury after injury to develop those players. They are stuck in the process. When the player is on the cannot play hockey, Martin St-Louis continues to say the boss move forward or the train will move forward, but they are stuck with no players on the ice. So hopefully that will helping them to get that. And then they finish fifth. If they finished fourth last year, they don't take David Rebecca. This is a clear they don't get David Rebecca. It's going to be Will Smith or any other player they have in front of them. Yeah. So again, I understand it's not like unlucky, but again, if we can go that direction, imagine draft the year before and 2021 or the year 2023. This completely changed the where we at on the prospect for sure.
Like if you're really being critical, coach.
If that year they could have picked up either Jiricek or Nemec,
exactly,
and then the next year they would have got a higher pick.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
almost like they did it reverse. Really, they chose a defenseman on the draft year where it was rich with talented forwards, and they chose a forward on the year where arguably Jiricek and Nemec were at least equally as good as, so if your ideology is that, right-handed big mobile defenseman in terms of asset management is at the top of the list of after center. I would say center is number one. Big center is like the most valuable asset that you can have. And then number two, right after that, is right-handed top four, top
Defenseman.
pairing defenseman, right? So and that's, again, that, remember I was saying when we were talking about Reinbacher, you can debate it both ways. Yes, Ryan, look at any team in the league right now, and probably number one need they have is right-handed defensemen that can play in the top four, right? So it's hard to debate with that logic, right? It just,
I know.
when you look at the totality of their drafting strategy over the last 2 years, you can understand why some Habs are critical. Now, again, like, we're hopeful and we're not trying to be overly negative, but hey, we're here to analyze, right? And we're here to, kind of like talk about it. En jase, like they say on RDS. So, there's an element there that you can certainly debate that, and same thing with trading 32 and 37, right? Like, they might be right, but there's looking at things as they are now, it's certainly, it nourishes discussion, and certainly you can't blame certain Habs fans for being at least critical or question, the direction that they've chosen to go on a certain things.
I know it's our subject. We have 9 minutes to finish the show, guys, but I was just curious in that chat. It'll be my last question. We're going to keep a little bit more for Friday NHL. But if Montreal select number 2 overall pick and not number 1, and Sakowski get out of the box at the first, who do you Montreal select? Shane Wright, Cherechek, or Nemec?
I think, who do I think they would have taken, or who would I have taken?
No, would you believe Montreal expect to pick?
I think
I never think about this. It's funny. It's the first time I really think about this.
I think they would have chosen Cooley. I think they would have chosen Cooley.
You think so?
Yeah.
I still think they probably. I don't know. I think they probably would have gone defenseman before Cooley.
Because the reason I said that, the reason I said that because Marko just said they're looking for a right defenseman. So for me, I said if they go there, maybe they will go again with Nemec.
Right, exactly. He's got size. He's very promising. He's right-handed. I mean, it would have taken the thought process from the year following into play, and that's the direction they would have gone. I mean, one thing they showed clearly was that they weren't going to go with Wright. So I don't think he would have gone number 2 if Montreal had the number 2 pick. So I think it would have been one of the 2 defensemen in Jiricek or Nemec, and I think they would have gone Nemec.
It's hard. We'll never know, guys. But
let's go back that way, Marko. Marko, they select number 2, and they select number 4. Back-to-back year. Now, who do you pick?
Okay, who do I pick? Okay, so
yeah.
In 2022, I'm picking number 2, not number 1.
You pick number 2, yeah. And Sakowski is out.
Okay, so I'm picking Jiricek. That's who I'm picking. And then I'm picking 4 the next year.
Yeah.
Okay, and who's out?
Same order. You have Fenton-Lee, and you have only Will Smith right there. Do you take Will Smith or you keep David Rebacker? That would be the best question I can ask you.
I would take Benson.
I knew you were going there.
All right, so keep in mind, Marko, Benson and Jiricek. Enortap.
I would have taken Nemec, and I would have taken Smith.
Will Smith. Now, my question to you guys, with your selection, do you think Montreal is better with Sakowski and Rebacker, or with your own selection about that?
I love Slafkovsky, right? So, if I know that I wasn't part of your community, during that draft, but I was either Jiricek or Slafkovsky were my 2 two picks, right? Jiricek or Slavkovsky. So I'm happy with Slavkovsky. So I think they probably, I think they're fine with what they have now. To be honest, like I like
Well,
I
that's
like what they have.
that's what the
Yeah, no, I get
equation
it.
of that one, right? We try to figure out everything. So just like I
Yeah,
think it's good to talk that way. I think it was a fun exercise
Yeah,
to do.
it's hard.
no, it's interesting.
It's hard.
I
It's hard
I
to do
personally,
because some players have not
well,
even started their career, like Smith
yeah,
or
yeah,
Nemec or Jiricek. I mean, Jiricek a
yeah,
little bit, but it's hard to look. I mean, we're basing it on projections of scouts, right? And
Yeah, of course,
what point? But
of
you're
course.
right.
And
In
go ahead.
5 years, that might be a little bit more of an interesting conversation.
Yeah, and then I start with it because I said Montreal was unlucky, and that's why I go down about that road
Yeah,
over there. So I was just showing you that.
yeah,
We have a couple of minutes, guys. We're going to finish that way for everybody because we do at the end of the show, the locker room, the weekly recap every Sunday, and because we have 3 games to go. We're going to go. Don't go. Don't worry about that. We're going to finish. We have 3 games to go to the end, and then nobody won the week before that. So we're going to go a prediction of the rest of the week for the Montreal Canadiens. So we can do that. So it'll be week number 12. And I would like to hear from each one of you who has a prediction of this week with 3 games. Carolina, Florida, and Tampa Bay Lightning. What will be the record about this one, Mr. Enortap?
Enortap is, as tradition, always goes first.
Yeah,
yeah.
because
Well,
Marko is switched after that. That will make me to
yeah,
switching
of
again.
course. Well, it's going to be a tough one. The only advantage they have, I guess, with Carolina is that Carolina played tonight, and so playing them tomorrow, and really, I know that they've won. I think 4-2 tonight, if I'm not mistaken. Um, that was a good progress for Carolina because they had some tough games, but I think Montreal can play with them. I'm not sure because they're coming right out of the gate, and this is Montreal's first game. It's going to be a tough one for them to win. So
Carolina
even
back to
though
back
they
game, by the way.
right, yeah, that's what I was saying, and so that's usually a disadvantage. But I think in this particular case, because they've had a break, usually coming out of the break, and we're seeing it tonight with some of the scores, like they're really lopsided and in favor of the weaker teams sometimes. But I don't think Montreal will get off to a great start, but they should hang in there, I believe. With Florida, that's on Saturday, I believe, and Florida plays Friday night. So I mean, this might be a point where they pull off a victory, Montreal. Not just because of the back to back, but I think Florida, with the exception of that one game, Montreal blew them out. I don't know if it was last year or the year before, like they scored 9 or 10 goals or something. I mean, Florida has had Montreal's number, and so I think they might shine in this case and go that way. And Tampa Bay is going to be just equally as tough. I don't think, yeah, Tampa Bay plays the night before and they have a tough game against the Rangers. So uh, I'm going to go with 1-1-1.
That's what I was going to say.
1-1-1. All right,
And I think I'm being a little bit generous.
Marco.
All right. Well, I was going to go 1-1-1, but let me reason this. So I think the game that they don't win here for sure is Florida. I don't think that they're going to win
Really?
that game. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm the opposite there. So whether we're right or wrong on our totals, Enortap, that's going to be our battle. Did Montreal beat Florida? Because that's the one we really disagree with. But
Okay.
I'll say 2-1. I'll try to be positive. I think they have a shot against Carolina. I don't like the way that they've been playing, goaltending a little bit suspect. So I'll say they get a win in Carolina, they lose in Florida, and then Game 7, 3-3, like deciding Game 7 for my best of 7 series, and Montreal takes it, wins the 4th game against Tampa Bay, and they leave the road trip with 4 wins. That's where I'm going.
So you
So
go
4
2-1,
points.
Marko, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it's rare I do that, but I will go with Luc Lafortune. So I go with 1-2 for the Montreal Canadiens this week. 1-1-1 was pretty much what I was thinking about. Was 0-2-1. But I will give them an extra win for the Montreal Canadiens on that one. So I will go with Luc at 1-2. About that, I think the game for again Carolina could be that one, like old Tampa Bay, but Florida, I don't think so. That the Panthers beat the Tampa Bay Lightning, by the way, tonight. So I think it will be really interesting. And Roy and RDP are 0-3 about that. Everybody, I got your number about your result tonight. Larry Lavallée go 2-1-0. Larry Lavallée 2-1-0 is like Patrick Leblanc, Marko Larabie, and GSM for Larry Lavallée. About that. So we get a couple of people to join us tonight. Don't forget, got to click on that. We got over 40 tonight. Was pretty good. From sometime we go with one direction and then finish with other direction. I think it was the show tonight. I think the wish was pretty good, everybody. And I think people in the show was very active. I don't know if you pay attention, guys, in the chat, but we have a lot of people. Chris Ensign, he was in the chat tonight. Chris, he was a long time. Did not come back here, and you can see sometimes some people have really not great knowledge about hockey and help the chat to be more active. Patrick Leblanc was active. Mark D at some point was, and many others, by the way. And RJ gave us all the update around the league. 14th game in action, guys. The Ducks beat the Golden Knight at the beginning of the second period, 4-0.
I told you, it's a crazy night.
It's a crazy. And the Chicago Blackhawks at the beginning of the third period, again, Winnipeg Jet 1-1 on that one. And
Seattle, Calgary 1-2. Seattle, Calgary 1-1.
The Blues beat the Dallas Stars 2-1. So it was great, guys. So having you aboard. This is complete the last show of the year of the locker room. Of course, the weekly recap. We'll be back in 2024, and we'll see what Montreal is going to do at the end of December. We're going to give you all the information about that. Can't wait to see you. By the way, I want to wish, first of all, both of you, thanks so much for all the time you gave to the Hockey Nation and Ab Nation in 2023. It's really, really appreciated, not only for me, but for the people in the chat. And I want to tell you, I wish you an amazing, great year 2024 for both of you. And of course, we want to remind you one more thing, because that's who you are. That's the reason you come back every week. So. You are awesome. You are amazing. You are the best. And remember, you have greatness inside of you. Yes, for the greatness of Marko with the legend Enortap. That's the reason the show is going to move on quickly, faster, better every single time. And all the people in the chat, we want to thank Rick Robitaille for the super chat tonight. Thanks so much, Rick. Really appreciate to be active with us tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night for the game of the Montreal game. Play-by-play commentator with the hockey coach Gogo Frenchy directly for Thailand between the Habs and the Hurricane. And finally, we want to let you know, everybody, be well, be held, find a win not only to donate your day, but you still have the time to donate the second app or what, Mr. Marko?
The last of 2023. Happy New Year, everybody.
Again. Adam, is a great night, everybody. Sweet dream in the Hockey Nation show. The Habs Nation want to tell you one more thing. We love you, people. Adam, is a great night, both of you. Thanks again to join me live tonight.
Good night, everyone.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, everybody. Thanks again. Bye-bye. Try to get it. Thanks for it. Here we go. We're going to go back right here. I should be back right here. Here we go. Thanks so much, Patrick. Tonight, welcome, everybody. Thanks so much, Triple W, to be with us tonight. RJ Calabo, RDP, GSM, Larry Lavallée, Luc Lafortune, Nicolas de Gobi-Bono, Habs Nation was very active too tonight. A lot of people, guys. Roy, Maurice Robillard. And this is the end of the show tonight. Booyah!